Verse 95. Sri Vishnu Sahasranaama Stotra. Ananto huta bhokta sukhado naika jograjah anirvinnaha sada marshi lokadishthanamadbhutah anantah huta bhokta sukhadah naikajah agrajah anirvinnaha sada marshi lokadishtanam adbhutaha anantaha endless limitless infinite hutabhuk consumer of obligations receiver of our offerings bhokta enjoyer as the jiva Sukhadaha, conferrer of bliss and happiness on the devotees. Naikajaha, one having numerous births, not one but many. Agrajaha, the firstborn, the most ancient. Anirvinnaha, knowing no dejection, no disappointments. Sadamarshi, always forgiving, extremely compassionate. Lokadhishthanam, Loka Adhishtanam, substratum of the entire world, nay, entire universe. Adbhutaha, wonderful. Anantaha, endless. One who is not conditioned by time and place. He is all pervading. His very nature is immortal, and thus he is immutable. The Supreme is called Ananta because the Supreme has also manifested as Adisesha, the thousand-hooded serpent on which Mahavishnu is shown reclining. Bhagavad Gita, verse 29 of chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga says, Anantaschashmi naganam varuno yadasamaham pitrunam chashmi yamah samyatamaham anantah cha asmi naganam means I am the Ananta among the Nagas. Similarly, I am Varuna among all the water beings. I am Aryama among the forefathers, Pitras, and I am Yama among the controllers. Ananta Adisesha is a thousand-hooded serpent on which Mahavishnu is shown reclining. Ananta also means endless. He is called Ananta. The Supreme is called Ananta because the Supreme showers unlimited and endless grace on the devotees. But for the ones lacking knowledge and good samskaras, he becomes incomprehensible. He becomes unlimited, endless. They just can't make out where is the beginning, where is the end. The Supreme always remains accessible for righteous and he is ready to receive their offerings. He is called Hutabhuk. Hutabhuk actually means consumer of oblations which are poured in the sacred sacrificial fire in yagnas and yagas, in the Vedic rituals. These oblations, which may be offered by the Yajman in the name of, in any name or invoking any deity, but ultimately they are all received by the very same Narayana or Mahavishnu, whatever name you like to call, because he receives it in the form of that Devata only. But ultimately, he is the one infinite self who is showing his divine play in and through all forms, worldly or heavenly. Again, Bhagavad Gita, verse 24, chapter 9, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhya Yoga says, अहम हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुरेव च। अहम हि सर्वयज्ञानां भोक्ता च प्रभुः एव च। I alone am the enjoyer. I alone is the Lord of all sacrifices, yagnas. Yagnas, in the language of the Gita, is any collective action done for a common good without any narrow self interest. Whatever actions are taken, ultimately the benefit goes to the Supreme Being. Supreme Being or the humanity represented by the Supreme Being. Not knowing this fact, natu mam abhijananti, not knowing this, tattvena chavantite. They do not know me in reality. Hence, such persons fall. Fall means they get born again and again. That means they don't get the bliss of liberation. The Supreme, as a Jiva in all beings, is the enjoyer, Bhokta. Bhokta is enjoyer. Because under previous name, we have seen the Bhagavad Gita verse, which says, I am the Prabhu, I am also the Bhokta. He is the one who enjoys through us, through the, as Jiva, through the body, mind, intellect, equipment of all the people on this planet. He enjoys whatever they think they enjoy, objects of the mind, emotions, objects of the body, objects of the what you call body means the organs of perception, eyes, ears, nose, etc. Objects of the body, emotions of the mind, and thoughts of the intellect. All these things. Individually, I think I'm having those emotions, objects, and thoughts, but it is Supreme operating through me who is actually enjoying, because I or my body, my mind, intellect becomes merely an instrument of experience as individuality, which together is called the conceiver, the perceiver, feeler, thinker, ego. This together is called individuality, called the jiva. That means through the jivas, as the jiva, the Supreme is actually enjoying the entire world. The term bhokta has one more meaning. It means one who protects the universe. He is a very material cause from which the entire world of names and forms have emerged. And he is sustaining that world of names and forms. Such a Supreme is also the conferrer of ultimate bliss, Sukha. That real happiness is the bliss. He Sukha Daha. Sukha Daha has two meanings, giver and also remover. Now, he is the one who gives the experience of eternal bliss to the devotees. The eternal bliss is nothing other than liberation, moksha. Now, the term, if it is read as asukadaha, means one who removes all the discomforts and pains of the devotees. He is the one giving bliss. He is the one removing the discomforts and pains. Both way, he is a benevolent supreme, Sukhadaha. And for conferring such bliss or for taking away such discomforts and pain from the devotees, the Supreme takes numerous births, not one, many. Na ekaha, naika jaha. Naika jaha means one who takes many births. Na eka ja. Ja means born. Na eka, not one. He is not born once only, but he is born many times. He is born again and again in many forms to serve the devotees in his various incarnations. In fact, we can say all births which take place are his manifestations only, as he is the spark of existence in all the beings in this universe, which is otherwise is only of inert matter. The life force, the living force is the supreme consciousness, that is the Paramatma. Now, through all the equipment, that means all the bodies, all the living beings, He alone is the one consciousness which is dancing and showing its infinite glory. Now, the all powerful, the omnipotent Bhagavan, he is the cause of all creation. Who is the cause of all creation? He is the firstborn. So he is called Agrajaha. Agrajaha means the firstborn. One who was born, who was the firstborn. Everything else came naturally after him. He is the primordial first cause. And this is the concept of God. Concept of God is like this, that from which everything comes, in which everything exists, and into which all things finally go and merge back. And this is the definition of God. Such a supreme being has no, obviously, has no want. He is paripurnaha. He has everything that is required. Because of this, he knows no dejection, no disappointment. Anirvinnaha, which is the next name. Anirvinnaha means knowing no dejection. One who feels no disappointments. Because as he is always totally fulfilled, there is no chance of his ever feeling any disappointment. Now, Nirveda is the feeling which is there in mortal beings. It's a feeling of agonizing disgust with things that comes because of a burning desire. We want lot of things. We have lot of desire. If the desire is not fulfilled, we feel miserable. And this misery is called nirveda. One who has no such nirveda is called anirvinnaha. The only anirvinnaha is Supreme Being, because the only person, he is ever full and perfect. He has no desires yet unfulfilled, or he has no desire which is yet to be fulfilled in the distant future. Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna declares very clearly in chapter 3, Karma Yoga, verse 22. He is telling Arjuna, "Na me parthasti kartavyam त्रिषु लोकेषु किंचन न अनवाप्तव्यम् अवाप्तव्यम् नानवाप्तव्यमवाप्तव्यम् वर्त एव च कर्मणि." Oh Arjuna, there is nothing in the three worlds that has to be done by me. There is nothing in the three worlds that has to be done by me, nor is there anything unattained that has to be attained. We have lots of things, lots of desirable things. We have big to-do list. I should do this A, B, C, D, E, I have to do. So Supreme Being has no such to-do list. He has nothing to be done. He has no such item which is yet to be done. So he says, nor is there anything unattained that has to be attained. That means there is nothing to be attained which is otherwise somebody may think it is desirable. But Krishna says, yet I engage in action. Here Krishna is telling Arjuna why everybody should always be engaged in some useful and nishkama action. He may not require anything, but he has to act. Krishna is giving his own example. He says, I don't have anything to do in this world. I don't have to achieve anything in the three world. I have everything that I want. There's nothing that I want but I don't have. But I engage in action. He's a role model. He's telling us how a person should behave. Now, the benevolent and compassionate Supreme is always forgiving. Sada Marshi. Always forgiving. He is forgiving all the mistakes, all the trespasses of all the devotees, because he is infinitely merciful and kind. He is extremely compassionate, kind, considerate, and loving towards the devotees. He understands the devotees and their limitations, so he is prepared to condone all their mistakes as long as they have a good heart. The next name is Lokadhishthanam. Loka Adhishtanam. He is the substratum of the entire world. He is the sole substratum for the entire universe of things and beings. whereas he himself requires no other support. Now, how does he manage that? How do we understand that? Because he is adhrutaha, means unsustained. Then who sustains him? Himself. Swadhrutaha. He is self-sustained. So naturally, we call him the greatest, Mahan. All these three names have appeared in verse 90, which I have recently covered. No wonder the Supreme is described as Adbhutaha, wonderful. Wonderful means Adbhutaha. He is a wonder. The Gita in verse 29 of chapter 2 declares, talks of this wonder. The Upanishads also assert and they say, the Supreme Being, the teacher who teaches about him, and even the student who grasps him, they are all wonders. What is wonder? Wonder is an experience that comes to us when our mind and intellect are totally stunned by some overwhelming experience which may happen at a particular point of time. It doesn't happen again and again. Sometimes we get a overwhelming experience with which we are stunned. Our mind and intellect are stunned. We become very, very quiet and passive. So this moment of experience is called a wonder. The experience is the one which will make the mind stagger, the intellect to halt, so that now we are not capable of expressing any feelings. No thoughts come to our mind. All that happens is a still wonder. So this is a moment of realization. This happens only when we are able to transcend our inner equipment, that is, the mind and intellect. Once we are able to transcend this, go beyond this, then only the sense of wonder can be experienced. Now, this term wonder, adbhutaha, has been used in our scriptures to point out, to explain, to highlight this experience of the infinite. It is not some ordinary wonder we are talking of. This is a wonder in a spiritual sense. Bhagavad Gita, what we just mentioned, verse 29 describes this. Ascharyavat pasyati kaschit enam. Enam means the Supreme Self. Supreme Self, how people behave. Ascharyavat pasyati kaschit enam. One person sees the self as a wonder. Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha. A second person speaks of it as a wonder. And ascharyavat cha enam anyaka shrunoti. A third person may hear about it and speak of it as a wonder. But Shrutva api enam veda na chaiva kaschet. But really speaking, none knows it at all. Is a beautiful verse in chapter 2. Ascharyavat paschati kaschideenam. Ascharyavat vadati tathaiva chanyaha. Ascharyavaschaina manyaha srunoti. Srutva enam vedana chaiva kaschet. With this, we'll conclude this verse. Asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.